Hello Divination and welcome. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to add image markers with Divi's transform options. This is the final result we're aiming to achieve, so without wasting a lot of time, let's dive in and let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is to create a brand new page. So I'm going to come over here to Pages, click on Add New. We're also going to give this page a name, so we're going to call this Image Markers. Click on Use Divi Builder. Now I prefer building everything from the front end, so that's what we're going to use in today's tutorial. And also, if you want to use the exact same settings as I'm using throughout this tutorial, I will leave a link to the post in the show notes below. And also, you can download this layout on the post as well, just in case you don't want to go through the whole process of setting it all up. All right, so let's go ahead and click on Build from Scratch. And what we're going to do here is we're going to start with single column, and then we're just going to close this. Next, we're going to come over here to our section settings. So what we need to do here is to go straight to the background, and let's start by adding a gradient. So I'm going to click on this plus button. Now we have two options. We can add two colors right there. So the colors we're going to add are white and gray. So I'm going to come over here, click this item here, choose my white color. And then on the second color, I'm going to use gray, and I'm going to paste the value in here like that. Right, so the next stage is to set our start position. So I'm going to scroll down here. So our start position currently is at 0. We want this at 22. And then we also need to add a blend, but we're going to come back to this. So let's add an image here. So I'm going to click on this third tab, click this plus button. Now, I already have an image here that I'm going to use for this tutorial. So I'm just going to click on it so you can see the dimensions. So it's 1588 by 805, but of course you can use whatever dimensions that work for you. All right, so I'm going to click upload an image. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my blend mode. So I'm going to come all the way down here. By default, it's set to normal. So we want our gradient to really look, to blend with this image. So I'm going to come over here to image blend, and we're going to change this to screen. Now notice what happens here on the image. All right, so the next thing is to come over here to the design tab. So here we want to go to the padding and remove the padding. So I'm going to click here on spacing, and we're going to set our padding here to 0 VW, both for the top and the bottom. And then we also want to come over here to the advanced tab, click on visibility, and then we're going to set our overflow to hidden, but this is on the horizontal. Now let's head over to the rows. So I'm going to save this. And here we need to go with 3 columns. So let's just go ahead and select our 3 columns here. And I know initially I had set 1 column, but it can easily change it by coming over here. Right, so the next thing is let's go into these row settings. So here we need to add our gutter width. So I'm going to come over here, click on sizing. So currently our gutter width is set to 3. So we want this all the way to 1. So what this does is it removes all the spaces between the columns. Next, we're going to come over here to width and set this to 100%, and our maximum width also to 100%. So all our columns will be going edge to edge. Now, in order for us to keep our columns all in the single column, when we view this in different screen sizes, we need to come over here to the Advanced tab, Custom CSS, and add the CSS code, Display Flex. Okay, and also this CSS code can be found in the post, which I'll link to in the show notes below. All right, so now that we've got this, I'm going to come over here to the content tab, and we're going to start with column 1. So let's go into this gear icon for column 1. So here we need to go to transform translate. So I'm going to click here on design, transform. So this one here, the second tab, is the transform translate. So we are going to set the x-axis and the y-axis. So over here, let's start off by breaking this chain, and we're going to set this at 16 VW. And over here on the x-axis, we're going to set this to 2 VW. Now let's head over to the z-index. So over here on visibility, we're going to set our z-index to 10. Next, let's head over to the second column. So I'm going to go back over here, click on the second column, design. And we're also going to do the same thing. Let's head over to transform translate, break the chain, and this time our y is going to be 6 VW, and our x-axis is going to be minus 11 VW. So I'm just going to add it here. And then on the z-index, we're going to set this to 10, just like the other one. So let's head over here to column 3 as well. Click on the gear icon, design, transform translate. Now this time, break the chain first, but this time over here, we're going to set this to 8 VW. and then on the bottom here, -11 VW. And as we did before, the Z index is also going to be 10. So I'm going to set 10 over here on the Z index and then save. Right, so the next stage now is to just save all this and add another row. So I'm going to click here on this plus button to add my row, and this time it's going to be a single column. And let's head over to the settings of this column. So I'm going to start off by coming over here to my row settings, and then I'm going to go to design, sizing, activate, use custom gutter width, and set this to 1 as we did before. And also this needs to be set to 100% for both the width and the maximum width. Now we're going to add an image module. So I'm going to save this, click on this plus button here and search for my image module. Select it. And now I'm going to add my car, upload an image. And what we're going to do here is we're going to come over here to design, sizing, and we're going to force full width. And then we're going to go into the padding. So I'm going to come over here to spacing, and we're going to set left and right padding. And we're going to set this to 10 VW and then save. All right, so the next stage now is to add a text module. So what I'm going to do is, because right now I don't have the option to add my modules, I'm going to come over here to wireframe mode, and then I'm going to add them this way. So basically what you need to do is to click here on this plus button, search for your text module and select it. Now we need to customize this. So you can add any text you want. So since this is a car, I'm just going to add text which says 4-wheel drive. Next, I'm going to come over here to the background, make sure this is set to black. Now, when it comes to the text, you can of course choose any font that you want, but the one I'm going to go with here is called Aldrich. So you just click here on this drop down, search for it, and then select the font that you want to go with. And then next, you want to make sure that this font is white because you want it to stand out on a dark background since we added a black background. So I'm going to choose white here for my color. Next, we also need to make sure that this is centered. So I'm going to center it here. And then over here, the size is going to be 1.2 VW. And then on the tablet, you may also want to add your colors here so that it looks great on all devices. So I'm going to click here on tablet, and on tablet it's going to be 2 VW and then 2.4 for the phone. Now let's head over to sizing. So over here, we're just going to make sure that our width here is set to 17 VW for the text module. And also for the tablet, it's set to 23 VW, and then on the phone, it's 30 VW. Now, it's important that this module is aligned center. By default, it's not aligned, so you want to make sure it's aligned center. Now, let's add top and bottom padding. So to do that, you want to come over here to spacing. So what we're doing here is to just give the text some breathing space. So I'm going to come over here to spacing, and we're going to add 0.9 VW. But of course, if you want to increase it a little bit, it's up to you. All right, so next we want to add a border to this design. So let's head over here to border. Now here is where you can add your rounded corners. So in fact, you know what? Let me switch over here to the desktop view so you can see what I'm doing. So here it is, it's in the background. We can't see it yet, but over here, 14 is my rounded corners. You can see here as I'm dragging, it gets back to square. Okay, so you just want to drag this until you're happy with the rounded corners. All right, so I've got, in fact, let's set this to 14. Okay, so 14, and then you may also want to add a border to that. You see this red line there? So if you come over here, you just click on this icon here, and this shows you that you can add this on the bottom. So here the size is 4 pixels, and also the color, I'm just going to paste it in here, and it's a dark red. So now that we've set up all our text and styles, I'm just going to save this, and then I'm just going to duplicate this twice and then drag this over here to the other columns. So if I switch over here to my desktop mode, you can see these are the other 2 columns. Right, so the next stage is to add some dividers. So I'm going to click here on this plus button, search for divider, and select it. So the settings that we need here is just to make sure we are consistent with our colors. So I'm going to come over here on design, line, and make sure this is set to black. Now let's head over here to the sizing. So for the weight, we're going to set this to 3 pixels and the width to 20 VW. Now, of course, for the module alignment, this needs to be centered. And now we just need to add a top margin by coming over here to spacing, margin, and then I'm just going to add 7 VW. So if I switch over here to the desktop mode, you'll see that we have our line, but it's horizontal. So we want our line to be vertical. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to transform, and we need to rotate. So here on the first option, I'm going to set this to 90 degrees. And there we go. Now you can see our line has gone 90 degrees, which means we can easily, add it to the right places. So now that we've set it that way, I'm going to save. And then I'm also going to come back over here, duplicate this twice, drag this over here like that. So now when I come over here to my desktop view, you can see now they're now in the right positions, which looks great. And of course, you want to go in and also change the text that we have here in these text areas. All right, so the next stage is to add another row. So I'm going to come over here to my wireframe view, click on this plus button here. And this time we need 2 columns. I'm going to go ahead and select that. And let's head over here and make some settings in our rows. So I'm going to click here on this gear icon, click on design, spacing. So in fact, we need to go into the design tab here of the main row settings. So on the sizing here, we just need to use custom gutter width, set this to yes. And over here on the gutter width, we're going to set this to 1. And for the width and maximum width, this needs to be set to 100%. Now, this is where we need to go into the first column. So what we're going to do here is to click on design, and we're also going to transform translate this. So let's head over and do this. So I'm going to come over here to transform. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go with the second option, transform translate. And we're going to break this chain. And for the y-axis, we're going to set this to -8VW. And now let's head over to the z-index, click on visibility. And here we're going to set this to 10. We're going to save this, come over here to column 2, click on the gear icon, design, transform, and again it's going to be transform translate. So on the x-axis this time, let me just select transform translate. Let's break the chain, and on the x-axis we're going to set this to -17, and on the y-axis it's going to be -14. And for the z-index, again we're going to set this to 10. So by the way, the z-index is just the positioning, the layering. So if it's 10, that's going to be the one that's going to be above pretty much everything that's lower, that has a lower value. Right, so now that we have this, I'm going to save this. And now we're going to go in and add some dividers. So I'm going to search for my divider module. I'm going to select it. So since we need another one here, we're going to save this, just duplicate this and drag it over here. Now, the settings that we have here in the first dividers is going to be the same that we need here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a shortcut that extends all the styles to these dividers. So basically what we need is to make them vertical. So I'm going to right click here, extend divider styles. And then here you can just say this section or this page. So let's just go with this section and then click on extend. Now we're going to make some changes to the divider in the first column of our third row. So I'm going to come over here and remove the margin. So I'm going to click here on this gear icon, design, spacing. So for the top margin, we're just going to remove this. And for the Z index, I'm going to set this to -2. So we're going to save this, add 2 more text modules. I want to click here on this plus button, search for my text module. Now these text modules need to be in two columns. So I'm just going to duplicate this one here to save me time, drag it over here. Right, so to save us time by adding the background, the fonts and so on, we are also going to extend styles, but we're going to use the same styles as we have here in the first column. So I'm going to right click, extend styles, and then we're just going to say throughout this page, click on extend. Now, all we have to do is to add a top margin of 7VW. So I'm going to come over here, design, spacing, and here we're going to add 7VW. Now, by adding 7VW, that means it's going to be pushed all the way down. So pretty much this is our design, and this is how you add markers with Divi's transform options. Now we have a second example, but pretty much the same process. The process is the same. So go ahead, give it a try and see how you can recreate the other example that we have on the post, which I'll link to in the show notes below. All right, so now that we've added all our settings, let's take a look at this on the front end view. So I'm going to click here on desktop view. And pretty much this is our final design. So I'm also going to save this and exit the visual builder. Okay, so there we go. So now you can see that this marker here is pointing to the wheels. This one here is pointing to the side, this pointing to the motor. And if I scroll down here, this is the fog lights and this is the shock absorption. But you can always go in and customize the height of these by using your margins. Now, we also have another example on the post, which I'll link to in the show notes below. Go ahead, give it a try and see how it works for you. So there you have it. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and do follow us on our social media platforms. By doing so, you'll be notified every time we release new tutorials. Until next time, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.